Hello, friends. I hope you are all doing well. Today, we are going to talk about something that is very much a part of life and can be a positive thing or a negative thing, and it is competition. So, when you think of the word competition, what is it that you think? I asked one person in my life what they thought of, and they said sharpening, developing, planning, and organizing, and intentional goal setting. Another person said do or die, cutthroat, being narcissistic, and what you have not being good enough. So those are obviously two very different things. There are very many productive things that can come from healthy competition. I think of sporting events, I think of games you play with friends, and extracurriculars you were involved in as a kid. These are all entertaining, fun-filled, and no doubt that you learn growth, discipline, and great skills for life through these things. One could even argue that it is what makes the world go round. Having a competitive drive can make you strive to be better at whatever it is you do. It can cause you to want to learn more, grow in your skill, excel at work, and of course, make some pretty incredible discoveries. There is no doubt that competition has a necessary place in life. So where does being competitive go wrong then? And when is it no longer that healthy and sharpening thing, but produces more negative things than good? So, define competition is a rivalry where two or more parties are striving for a common goal which cannot be shared, and where one's gain is the other's loss. So before we dive further, I'm going to read a few verses. Please note that we will be talking about competition as it relates to our heart posture, because it is our heart that God looks at. So verse number 1 is Colossians 3:23. Work willingly at whatever it is you do as though you were working for the Lord rather than people. Philippians 2:3. Do nothing from selfish ambition or conceit, but in humility count others as more significant than yourself. And Ecclesiastes 4:4. Then I saw all toil and all skill in work come from a man's envy of his neighbor. This is vanity and a striving after the wind. So you may be saying, what in the world, Taylor? Do these verses have anything to do with this topic? Well, let me ask you this. What are common things we hear in these verses? They all talk about working and achieving something. They address our heart's motivation. They promote humility and lifting up others above yourself, and staying far from envy and coveting. In other words, work hard, do it unto God, and not to spite your neighbor, side-eyeing him to see if what he has is better than what you have, or vice versa. I think we can all say that we've struggled with this at some point in our lives, so we're going to talk about it. It is important to note that God absolutely gave us our internal drive to improve things on this earth, to solve problems, keep growing, and get better and better. I think of people like doctors and people that build homes and invent and solve and truly contribute to this earth. There is a difference between genuinely wanting to improve in something or solve a matter versus comparing what you have to those around you and wanting to be better than someone or wanting something because someone else has it. That is called coveting what your neighbor has. Well, in a world where we are bombarded to go after bigger and better and easier and cooler, this can be really hard. It is shoved in our faces, and loving Jesus does not mean that we are incapable of struggling with this. And it can be confusing because competition, like we said, in itself is not a bad thing. When it turns unhealthy or even unbeneficial to us, is that a word? Is when we allow sin to be the motive. Jealousy, envy, bitterness, resentment, these things can start to overshadow and then can start to distort the motives of why we even wanted something in the first place. I think something that can help us determine whether your motives for wanting something are healthy or not is by asking, is this putting a wedge in my heart between me and another person? Or am I harboring feelings of jealousy and even annoyance when I see someone else having what I want? I am not saying that it's wrong for it to sting a little bit in our hearts when we really have been wanting and waiting on something and praying, and we see others being blessed in that area. That is very real. Again, it is what that sting or feeling can become that we want to look out for. Because we are human, this temptation will come. So this is not something to be ashamed of. But if you feel like you are experiencing some kind of anger or resentment, that is something to pay attention to, because chances are these feelings are quiet inside of our hearts, and it's something that does not grow overnight. It shows up randomly, and it starts with these little thoughts, and then it grows when it's unchecked, because we ignore or dismiss it. Your struggle with envy towards a person or a situation also affects that person or situation in no way. It is the envying person that is harmed. Things like jealousy and unforgiveness and resentment, those are nothing to mess with, and they truly are damaging to our heart and our spirit. We were not meant to carry around all of that inside of us. They steal our peace, and what is also sad is it's probably stealing excitement and focus on whatever that original desire was underneath all of that. Your struggle with this is not who you are, and that is not how God designed you to live, but just seeing people as competition. Things grow because we allow them to exist there, and they have been given permission to exist, or maybe we've told ourselves that that's just who we are. We're just competitive people, when in reality it is a good drive, but sin is attached to it and it's distorting it. I think also that we forget we get to choose what we partner with, and all that means is that we get to choose what is tolerated in our thought life, or what we are making agreements with. This is going to become a part of how we see ourselves and others. Okay, Taylor, this is all really deep. Give me a practical. So here we go. Ask God to help you with this. Ask God to give you a red flag in your spirit when you have that thought saying, nope, this is not who I am. God, I bless this person that I am envying right now. God, help me to trust you more with my desires. I believe you do not withhold from me. This might be silly at first, but this will change your life, and it will change how you think. It reminds me of the verse that says, flee from the devil and he will flee from you. You flee from those thoughts, that sin, or those icky things that are trying to attach themselves, it will flee. And you guys, when this happens, the amazing thing is that when we start taking seriously what we tolerate inside of our hearts, and you channel that into praying for that person or asking God to remove that icky feeling, it really starts to lessen. Those thoughts, they don't come as much, and pretty soon you feel released from that envy, and the day comes where you really can be happy for whoever or whatever it is. We are supposed to guard our hearts. If we are not protecting our hearts, then who is? Your heart is yours to steward. It's yours to protect against evil, against principalities influencing it, and to water it with God's truth, not just to claim as ours any icky thought the enemy throws at us. Remember that your beautiful desires, they come from God. Remember that He does not intentionally withhold from you. He loves to give gifts to His children, but His plan and timing might look different than what we want it to. It is okay to wrestle with that, but let it produce something good. Let it produce more trust in Him. Get something from that wrestle. I like to say to the Lord, I want that fruit that I am supposed to get from walking through this. Help me become more fruitful, and help me be softened, not hardened. Remember that your journey is totally different from that person that you are looking at, and there's so much that you do not see. Remember that you may have walked through some things that they have not walked through yet, or that they have walked through things that you have not. We never see the full picture of things. Did you know that there is no limit to God's bank account of blessings? And the more that someone next to you succeeds, nothing is taken from you. It is so powerful for us to want us to be surrounded by people that have more, see more, understand more, because that is how we learn and grow. I want to learn from people that are better in all of those areas. Guys, this is a hard concept, but I am there with you. I hope this helped you in some way. I will see you next week. Be so blessed. Bye-bye.